All right, hello, and welcome to episode 3 of Two Lukes. If you haven't checked out our episodes yet, check them out on YouTube, or you can listen on wherever you hear your podcasts. So for Luke, we're not going to waste any time. We're going to get into starting with our first video game that we played.
Yeah, the Xbox Game Pass that we mentioned in previous episodes. We finally got that, dug into it, and played 12 minutes.
We did. 12 minutes was a chosen game, so we chose it based on I had seen it and really wanted to play it. So let's waste no time. Well, 12 minutes, just high level. I think we told you last episode, but it's I don't even know what kind of game you call it.
Point and click,
Yeah.
kind of explore, but it's basically Groundhog Day.
Yeah, you are stuck in a loop that starts over every 12 minutes or earlier, and you are trying to find out if your wife killed her father.
Yeah.
And once 12 minutes is up, or once you die, the game starts over.
Right. Well, not even die, it's just you get punched or something like
Yeah,
that.
that's true. Yeah.
Electrocuted
Or die.
a lot of different options.
You want to start with your thoughts, how you did in the game, and
Yeah, I can go ahead and get it rolling. I started off and basically the first playthrough accomplished nothing. Just trying to figure out the controls, what you can do. Obviously, there's going to be a lot of spoilers in this, so if you haven't played the game yet, maybe you want to skip this or come back to it later. But, I was just going through and checking the fridge, seeing what I could interact with, going into the different rooms, seeing what items I could pick up. The first 2 or 3 playthroughs, though, I was trying to focus on my wife,
right.
the conversation, trying to play like I didn't know that there was this whole death thing going on, because you don't know until the cop knocks on your door. I don't know, I think that's about 5 minutes in, maybe, that he knocks on the door. So you only have a limited time, and there's so much dialogue to try and get through, but it kept feeling like a dead end. So I was a little disappointed in how slow it was at the beginning to kind of get into it, because obviously now, having played more of it, there's so much to do, but I felt like there was nothing to do at the time.
Yeah, when we first started talking about it, I mean, we said that it almost had to be that way, otherwise you beat the game in an hour and it makes it kind of pointless.
Yeah.
So it is a very drawn out game. It can feel a little repetitive, I would say. I mean, there were times where I was doing the exact same thing for the first 3 minutes and trying to figure out something after that. So the first 3 minutes every time were a waste to me. Like I was just racing around in a circle and doing 3 different things and, waiting for something new to happen.
I don't know yet, because we've tried to keep our conversations between us to a minimum on this to try and save them for you guys. But I think I'm probably more negative on this game than you. The repetitiveness I couldn't get behind.
Right.
We did have a couple conversations, and we tried to keep details at a minimum during them. But that was almost the most exciting part of the game to me, was talking about it with you. Or, once you were done, you would lay in bed or whatever that night, and you think, oh, maybe if I try this, maybe if I do this. And then you go and play it, you try it, it does nothing. And then you're back to sitting there like, oh, great, now I have to do the same thing 20 times to figure something new out. So it's almost like the thought of the game and discussion of the game was a lot more fun to me than the actual game.
Yeah, so what is the furthest you got in the game?
So actually, based on conversations with you, I got to the point where when the police officer comes in, you've already used some sleeping pills to make your wife fall asleep in bed. And we're skipping through a lot of things here.
Yeah.
Wife falls asleep in bed, and then you hide in the closet, and as he comes in, he sees her laying in the bedroom, goes in there, flips on the light switch, electrocutes himself, and passes out. and then you can steal handcuffs from him and handcuff him on the ground. So I did that. I took his phone and called his daughter. I obviously had some more plans, like, oh, use my phone to call her phone, you know, to see that, but I never actually got around to doing those things. The farthest I got was, okay, you can incapacitate him for a minute and then he gets up and still hits you and starts the game over. But I didn't explore past that because I just didn't really have the desire. I think it's one of those things where I'd like to watch somebody else do it,
Right.
but maybe not do it for myself.
So one step further from that, if you take his gun and shoot him in the leg, he really starts talking. So he starts cooperating with you and talking a little bit. So that's maybe something that you missed, but he does end up dying after that.
Oh,
So it unlocks a couple more things, but so what I want to do is walk through a couple of the ways to complete the game, if that's okay.
can I ask how far you?
So essentially essentially to that same spot to where, and once we talk about this, I think it'll be really funny because we were on top of a lot of things, barely missing, and knowing what I know now, like I might like it a little more knowing all this.
I just need to know what the importance of the air ducts are that you can take off. Like that
Yes,
drove me nuts.
it will get there. And some of this I'd like to go back and because I don't remember seeing things that are in here. So this is what happens. Like, so first you're in the first 12-minute loop, you just let it go, right? So this one I found very interesting because I never thought of it. So every little detail of the conversation is important. And every time you walk in, your wife's like, oh, I didn't hear you. Like, oh, you just came in. The second loop that you're supposed to do, this is if you just complete the game in order. Go into the closet without your wife knowing you're home and shut the door. And so that unlocks, she won't know you're there. So when the cop turns up, you'll learn more about what's going on.
What I could have played for 20 years and
Exactly.
never done that.
So I was like, okay. Number 3, and these are all based on what you uncover. So I don't really know what you uncover because they don't come out and say it. Talk to your wife, pick the prove the day as a restarting option, which we know. It says you can select the window to tell her it's going to thunder. We both struggled with that, I think.
I'm pretty sure I did that. And her response was something like, yeah, it's raining. Of course there would be thunder. So like, unless that's a very specific time
Right.
you have to do it.
So then it says next, get the present from the drawer, which we had both done. And then this will let you talk about her father. But she always gets angry and goes out the front door. So follow her and it'll reset the loop. The next one, you'll be able to question your wife more about the past now that you have information from the previous loop. First, though, get the watch. So did you get to the point where you're talking about the watch with the cop?
Yeah, I knew that there was a watch,
Yeah.
and I had asked my wife about the watch, but made zero progress on her. She acted like there was no watch.
There is and it shows a picture here, a vent under the medicine cabinet. That is where the watch was.
So there are 3 vents, and
There
I
are
played
3
with
vents.
2 of them
Yes.
extensively, did not know the 3rd one existed.
Yes. Prove you're in the time loop again. She would admit to everything that happened. Eventually tell you the story behind the Polaroid on the fridge, which
One of the first things you grab on your first
and can
playthrough.
talk through. So essentially what you find out is the Polaroid will eventually prove her innocence because it tells about what she was doing the day that her father passed away. The next one, it gets a little weird like on this one. It says, with all the info you have now, grab the Polaroid, talk through the new options. You'll know when you've covered everything that you'll have nothing new to talk about and sinister string music will start playing. Your wife will keep talking and not be able to take the silence and eventually leave. Just seems weird. This one, there's like different achievements or whatever. This is the coward achievement. So when your wife comes out of the bathroom, get in there, out of sight, get the pills, combine them with the mug, give the drug water to your wife, which we had done many times. This is the one we did a lot. So get in the closet, wait, the cop will electrocute himself. This is where it says Bumblebee. So you can call the number for Bumblebee, which sounds like you did. I never did that, but that's something that unlocks quite a bit.
She was at a movie waiting on him to arrive.
Yeah. Then I think there was one more interesting here. There's an affair in here. I think that comes into it. There's a nanny involved.
You, her, or the cop?
I think her father, I think. Called Bumblebee, blah, blah, blah. Again, I thought there was one more thing. So there is once you get towards the end, there's apparently a new location. So it says, you'll be in a new location. Let this play out. You'll be sent back to the apartment, whatever happens. So it seems really weird.
It's very strange because it's literally an apartment where like it's an open concept, like
Yeah.
kitchen and living room. And then you have a bedroom and you have a bathroom. And those are the only 3 rooms you have access to.
It makes it sound like you're flashing to another event or something, but very vague. And then there are obviously several different endings to where you can kill your wife, forget anything, forgive her because you didn't know that she is innocent. So I think there are a lot of different endings. But in reading that, it was interesting to me to know what I missed, what I should have done. I don't know without cheating if I would have ever solved the game. Honestly.
Yeah, I wouldn't have, because if I had to guess, I'd say I played through it probably like 20 times.
Yeah.
And I feel like I made it nowhere.
Yeah.
So I'm not gonna sit here and say it's a bad game. I just don't think it was for me.
Right.
But I'm super interested. I think it's a great concept and it's probably even done very well. But like I want to know what happens, but like I said, I just don't have that desire to do it myself.
So with that being said, what is your, I guess, first rating for our first game?
Just based on the concept, and I really like the concept. I think it was really well done. Like I said, just maybe not for me. So I'm still going to give it a decent grade. I'd probably give it around like a 6.
Yeah.
I mean, I can't go much higher just because I didn't find the personal enjoyment, but I feel like it was well done. So I'd hate to give it any lower.
Sure. Yeah, that's right where I'm at. I'm at a 6.5, 7. I love difficult games. I really do. This one, reading that now, I think would have been a difficulty that I would have just gotten stuck eventually.
Yeah, it's almost like it's a difficult that it's not as you go, it gets easier because you figure more out. Like it's constantly that same difficulty, and it's so hard. Like you said, hide in the closet first thing. Like nothing. Her saying, "Oh, I didn't hear you come in." That's your only cue to do that.
Yeah,
and it's
unless
not
you do it
obvious.
randomly.
Yeah. So I don't know that there's anything to help other than literally looking up what to do.
I thought it was a fun first game. I'm glad that was our first one.
Yeah.
And we have randomized, and we do know that our second game is called Rain on Your Parade.
Yes.
So we will be talking about that next week. And as we said, we'll randomize a game every week and play through and talk about it with you guys.
I think our goal, like we said last time, was to try and play an hour of each game. Because it's hard to get a feel for a game in the first 5 minutes. Because I mean, I've played many games where I start off hating them, end up loving them, or start off loving them, end up hating them. So we really want to get into it and get a good idea of what we're actually playing, what the game actually has to offer, and hopefully it's good.
Yeah, I probably played 12 minutes for 2.5, 3 hours total.
I'd say I was maybe about 1.5.
Yeah.
So not as much as you, but enough to know how I felt about the game.
Yeah. So good. Can't wait to keep doing these.
Yeah. So as we move on from that, I actually want to stay in the realm of video games, switch over to Nintendo.
Okay.
I'm obviously a huge fan of Nintendo. Yesterday, breaking the fourth wall so that you know what day this is. Yesterday was a Nintendo Direct. They announced a lot of amazing stuff. Nintendo Switch Online is getting an N64 emulator now. So my favorite game of all time, Ocarina of Time, will now be available to play on your Switch. I think is fantastic. But something to kind of tie in more to your interests is with movies. Because they announced a movie. They have actually announced it in the past, but they have now released the cast.
Okay.
Do you remember the 1993 classic Super Mario Brothers movie?
I know of it, yes.
Possibly one of the worst movies of all time.
Yes.
So here we are, December 21st, 2022. So almost 30 years later, they are having a new Super Mario Brothers movie.
Okay.
This one, unlike the other one, is animated.
Got it.
But the voice actors, full of A-list celebrities, amazing. And I'd just love to get your opinion on some of these voice actors.
Yeah, let's do it.
So start off with Peach is going to be Anya Taylor-Joy. Not somebody I'm super familiar with. Wasn't sure if you would be.
No.
She's in the Queen's Gambit, which I know was really big recently. Obviously, starting with the lesser known people as we move up through the list here. Toad is going to be voiced by Keegan Michael Key.
Okay.
From Key and Peele.
Yes.
Interesting choice.
Yeah. The voices can always be interesting, I feel like, because you don't have to have a lot of talent necessarily.
I'm curious to know with most of these, like, so say Deadpool.
Yeah.
The voice of Deadpool is just Ryan Reynolds.
Right.
When he did Detective Pikachu, it was just the voice of Ryan Reynolds. He didn't, a lot of voice actors will mask their voice and change it.
Sure.
I'm really curious to know in these cases if they will or if they will just be their natural
Is
voice.
Ryan Reynolds in this movie?
Unfortunately, no.
Okay.
It's not where I'm going with this.
Wait for free.
Okay, so moving on, Luigi, voiced by Charlie Day.
Love Charlie Day.
I do
Big
as
Charlie
well.
Day fan. So yeah, I think that's a fitting role to him.
I agree.
Yeah.
I agree. I think that's fairly perfect for
Yeah,
Luigi.
that's fun.
Donkey Kong, voiced by Seth Rogen.
Yeah, so you told me to stay away from any spoilers I saw, and I somehow saw this one. I am not a Seth Rogen fan. He did voice in the animated hot dog movie. What was that? Do you remember?
I just know it was supposed to be awful. I never watched it.
Yeah, it was. I think I started it once and shut it off. But so he's got some experience doing this. Obviously, so many people love him. I'm not a fan, but probably I think he'll do a great job. I guess.
Yeah, based on that, I'm assuming this movie's going to be a comedy because it's hard to have. I don't know that I would believe Seth Rogen voicing anything. In
Charlie Day as well.
Yeah. Speaking of not being serious, the voice of Bowser, Jack Black.
That's Again, he will do incredible, and that one seems fitting as well.
Yeah. And then going on to the star of the show, Mario himself, Chris Pratt.
Okay, yeah. I mean, he's been doing a lot of comedic work. I would say this is going to be a little bit of a. Do you know what it's going to be rated?
I do not. I don't really have much information on it other than the release date and the cast.
Yeah, I think this will be interesting. I mean, is that all the cast?
Yes.
I mean, star-studded that we know of.
Well, I think there are a few other people like Jared Armisen, I know, like from SNL fame.
Yeah.
A couple other smaller people. These were the biggest names.
I wonder if it's going to be targeted at kids or adults. I mean, kids may not know as much about Mario as people our age. I don't know. I know there's new games out.
Yeah, I almost feel like I don't want to speak like, oh, I know more than Nintendo, but I feel like if they were smart, they would target it at an older audience, but still be welcoming to a younger group.
I guess I was going to say the opposite because the older group will automatically watch it and target it at the younger.
That's fair. I guess I'm hoping it's targeted at an older group. Because like I said, I love Nintendo, love Mario, love most of this cast right here. Really excited to see what they do. It's not, I feel like I'm used to having one or two big names voiced in an animated movie, but to have this many big names, I feel like is pretty impressive. Yeah,
I will be on the lookout for that because that is maybe the best animated cast since like Toy Story or something, you know? I mean, honestly, that's pretty high level for, so yeah, interesting. Is this Nintendo's, how many other movies do they have? Do you know?
I
didn't know if this was
honestly
their
can't really
first or.
remember. People are joking about how they're gonna do a Mario movie and then basically do a Zelda movie, do all these
Right.
different things, and then bring them all together for a Smash Brothers movie,
Yeah.
a la the Marvel universe. I don't see that happening, but who knows?
Yeah, interesting. Well, we'll be on the lookout for that, and in a year and a half, we'll review
Absolutely.
it. If we don't forget. Jumping from movies, maybe talk about soundtracks. Music is something that I wanted to bring up. Now, you and I have incredibly different tastes in music. I probably would say that about everyone because I just have a pretty unique style of music. I have Apple Music and it will suggest things once in a while to me. And I don't know why. I do not like country music. I've never really cared a whole lot for. I guess when I was a little bit younger, but I just think I'm not the biggest fan. But Canadian country was recommended to me, and I listened, and I almost liked every single song.
I don't know that I can take the term Canadian country even seriously.
This must be seeping through my love of Drake and Justin Bieber because these Canadian country artists they just put out banger after banger. It's probably got a little more poppy feel than American country. See, I'm so torn by this.
It's hard. I was gonna say, what country are you speaking of? Are you speaking of today's country or actual country? I mean,
yeah. That's a very good question. I mean, this would not be actual Garth Brooks growing up and any of that kind of stuff. This is much more today's feel, but like I said, it's got a poppy feel to it, and I somehow love Canadian country music.
Is that why you were tweeting a country artist?
It is, and one of my favorites. I'm not sure why he's not responding, but yeah, I just thought that was worth noting. If you like country, I think you would probably like this. If you don't like country, you still might like this. Check out Canadian country music.
Do you have any artists specifically that you remembered listening to that you really like?
Yeah, Josh Ross is the one that I was tweeting at, and he has several good songs that I really like. Some of them very upbeat, some of them very slow. One, I can't remember exactly what it's called, but it's like, you should do more things that you enjoy. And when I was listening to it, I was like, this song is really accurate. Like, we all have to go to work. We all have to do things, even as parents, as husbands, that you don't necessarily love doing all the time. But this just says, hey, you only live once. Take a little more time to do what you want to do things you enjoy, figure out a way to do it. And I was like, man, that's a good song and a good message.
Play more video games, podcast more.
Yeah.
Perfect.
Yeah. So yeah, and check it out if you want. Let us know what you think about. I think it's called Canada's Country on Apple
I can't take it seriously. Maybe I'll listen to it and change my mind.
Yeah, maybe.
For right now.
Yeah. So yeah, good stuff there. Do we have anything else this week?
I don't believe so. I think we were just really heavy on, we really wanted to play 12 minutes and had a fun time doing so for the most part. I think that was most of our focus.
Yeah. So obviously join us next time as we play Rain on Your Parade, and we'll have a fun array of topics next week as well. So thanks for listening.